and welcome back to Bless Your Heart. I'm Heather.
And I'm Carlyle. And today, before we get started, I'm going to read a little disclaimer. This is for entertainment purposes only. These are our experiences and our opinions. So bless your heart if you take it too seriously.
So today we're going to talk about Hollywood's mysterious deaths, Bravo's rumored blood contracts, and Cornelia Vanderbilt's great escape. Welcome to the episode where the shadows run the show.
We thought it would be fun to have a segment called Bless Your Heart, where we share an experience or a story or something that we wanted to highlight as our Bless Your Heart moment of the week. So Heather, what happened to you? Because I thought it was pretty funny.
So I went down a Mel Gibson rabbit hole and learned that, bless his heart, Andy Cohen is on, sadly, the P. Diddy's list and the Epstein's list, apparently. And Mel Gibson had posted it online. And I was disappointed, not 100% shocked, but disappointed because I do like the Bravo and all the shows, and learning that, kind of breaks my heart a little bit. So that was my bless your heart for the week. What was yours?
Well, the more I learn about Biltmore, and after visiting Biltmore, the more questions I have. I thought I would have more answers, but really I have more questions than anything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. We don't really know what the truth is.
That is true. We may never know what the truth is. In this week's episode, we're talking about blood contracts, powerful bloodlines, and why it seems like fame and Bravo at Hollywood always come with a price. From Cornelia Vanderbilt mysteriously walking away from the largest estate in America, to the reptilian royalty theories, to the pattern of celebrities dying in sudden and suspicious ways. It all ties back to who's really pulling the strings and what they demand in return.
So last week, we talked a lot about George Vanderbilt. We talked a lot about Patricia from Southern Charm, and we've talked a lot about weather manipulation and Tartaria. Tonight, we're going to jump into some of the old world and new world and how they tie together. We wanted to start out with blood contracts, Bravo, and Hollywood. So last week and the week before, we talked a lot about weather manipulation. We talked about Tartaria. We talked about George Vanderbilt being a vampire. And tonight we have some more conclusions and some more thoughts on vampires. And we also have gone down the rabbit hole of blood contracts, Bravo, and Hollywood. And we both love Bravo so much. So when we were doing research for this, we went to ChatGPT and we went to social media and we were like, tell us your most unhinged Bravo theories. And again, it came up with one that I had never thought about, that Kyle Richards had signed a blood contract with Bravo and she's been desperately trying to get out of it. And that's why the tears, the turmoil, everything. So she wanted to become this big star and now she's regretting it. She's having it like this crisis of self for what did I do? And it's like she can't get away from the machine. She went there, she did that. So it's like, what do you think about that?
I think it's interesting because as soon as I found out that she was friends with Kris Kardashian, and then you see all their Kardashians in pictures with P. Diddy from those parties back then, it all kind of starts to make a little bit of sense. I never knew the Kardashians went to the P. Diddy party until a couple months ago and all this started to get released. But I'm not too shocked about it, but it is interesting how the last season, how when her and Mo were going through the divorce and then, Morgan, whether or not they're together, she's more of a, somebody there to just kind of lean on as she goes through sobriety, or just going through a divorce, or just maybe trying to escape this whole soul contract and this whole cabal that she, in Hollywood that she hangs out with.
I know. And then it's like when you start thinking about everything with her, you start thinking about, well, if blood contracts are really a thing, they say that for a blood contract to be the deal to be sealed, you have to have a sacrifice. So maybe it's not a sacrifice right when you sign the blood contract, but later in your life, the devil comes a calling. So normally what they have said is like after you hit the peak fame. So you see all of these celebrities and Bravo celebrities that, they do really well and they're like in the height of their fame and like life is great. And then all of a sudden their life is chaos and they're losing people that are like super near and dear to their heart. And so it just makes you wonder, could it be?
Could it be?
Could it be? And it's like it's like in everything. You see all of these people, even in business.
Yes.
They get really, really powerful and they make all this money. And then their life is like tragic after that. And if it's not their life, then it's like their descendants' lives.
Yeah.
It goes into like generational curses. And I know several people that are wonderful humans that I am pretty sure have generational curses. It's like the craziest things happen to them. And it's not them, like they're great people, but it makes you wonder, like, what did their relatives do in the past? Because to me, it just seems
It just keeps going.
evil,
It just keeps going.
Yep.
Well, if you sell your soul to the devil, then things happen like that. I mean, it's just crazy how even like some of these musicians, some of these like sports, soccer players or something, they sign their soul away, right? And then all of a sudden they like number one in the charts every week. Every song is number one. Or, they get the Super Bowl or they get all the big shows and, the normal person is just completely looked over and you realize, okay, why is it the same celebrity every time or the same recording, artist or soccer player or basketball player even? I mean, it's LeBron all the time. And there's like tons of other great ball players, but yet it's like they almost have this like hyped up that like when they sign their soul away, they got this like hyped up, like extra, not like a spirit living in them, but somehow their skills, everything was taken to the next level.
Well, yeah, they say that some of these people are channeling like other beings too, because there's like an NBA I know player recently that like he shifted during an interview and people were like, what? And then you see all these interviews where people shift, but we're going to talk about the reptilians and like that weird stuff later.
Yeah.
But while we're still talking about Hollywood and Bravo and blood contracts and sacrifices, it makes you wonder about all the mysterious deaths. And people are always like, all of these actors are like gone too soon, sudden mysterious overdose, a sudden suicide when they really weren't like that unhappy of people. And, pneumonia is a big one that gets a lot of people. But it's like when you get too close to the truth. Like for me, one of the first celebrities that I realized this for was Avicii, because he did this music video that he put out, and it was the music video is two kids escaping out of a trunk from an old rich white man, and they're running away, and the song is about escaping child trafficking.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, he passed away. But like, so when we talked about this, that sent you down a rabbit hole. And tell me about all the celebrities you learned about.
Oh, there's so many celebrities. I don't think we have time to do all of them. But Paul Walker. Speaking of trying to talk about the trafficking, it's rumored that he found out about the Haiti and all the child trafficking happening out there, and how he was about to come clean about it, and then all of a sudden, poof, he ends up in this Porsche accident. Then just flames took over. You've got Michael Jackson, even, who, come on, like if he really died from his own doctor overdosing, like I felt like poor Michael. His whole life they took away from him as a child, even. Like, I think he's really a good person, and I think he is probably still alive.
Oh, you think he's
I think he's
alive?
still alive. There are people on TikTok that looks just like Michael. He even has his own TikTok page. It's on Telegram. Those are the two I know of. And now, a lot of people on there agree. They say it looks just like him, but they had a lot of clones for Michael. Michael's probably one of the first few they had clones for. And then that keeps going on. That's another whole rabbit hole. But
on a side note of that, have you heard the rumor that the reason that Elon Musk brings X around is because
his clone.
He doesn't bring any of his other children around, just like X is always with him. So they said he's his clone, and so he's got to like keep him close to himself. And I'm like, that would raise a clone of yourself, like
hilarious,
mind blown.
I mean, talk about somebody channeling. He was channeling during the Trump speech. Did you see that?
I just think that's his I could like with my ADHD, I could be in a hole. If I was at the inauguration, they would be looking at me, twitching and moving around and fidgeting and picking at my hair and looking around and being in my own world. It is so hard for me. I don't even feel like I take anything in. I just sit there and I'm like, robot. I'm like, don't move. Whatever you do, don't move. So, anyways, I could see how it was easy for Elon to get distracted. But back down to our rabbit hole of mysterious deaths and everything. It's like, what does that mean for celebrities today? Mel Gibson, Rose McGowan, Roseanne, people like that.
Yeah,
They're really vocal or they come out.
Yeah.
What happens to them? Because it feels like it's the same that I feel about politics.
Yeah.
No matter who's in office, which side you voted, it's all smoke and mirrors. They always promise you things, but they never fix things because if they fix this system, then there's nothing to campaign about to fix in the next election. Like to me, I would like to think that results are why people would get people elected, but it's not. It's false promises or what they call promises. And it's like that. That's why I just like I'm over politics. I'm so over it. I'm not on either side. It's all evil. It's like the list won't come out because number one,
They're all on the list.
they're all probably on the list, and number two is the general public can't handle it. If they knew everyone that they ever looked up to was actually a people monster, then like I think that the general public could not handle this. So
It's called the Great Awakening for a reason. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
not
some people are
everybody.
not going to be able to handle it. And I mean, it's slowly dripping out, literally.
But how hard was it for us? Like when we started Awakening, it's kind of just like everything that you've ever known, you have to question. And when people ask me about this podcast, and I'm like, well, it's a conspiracy theory podcast, but it's really not. It's a questioning podcast.
Yeah, it's just like questioning
everything because like things don't add up. And I'm not going to just believe something because you tell me to.
Right. Like when I do my research.
I'm not going to believe the man in the candy van with the candy. It's crazy.
But yeah, so speaking of Mel Gibson, so couple different things. He is just releasing all kinds of stuff. And the things that he is releasing are things that I learned about 2020. So when I started going down these rabbit holes, the celebrities and the trafficking and the blood rituals was like one of the first things I learned about. And I don't know if you ever heard of Campy, but Campy was one of the people thought he was crazy. So a lot of people just didn't believe him.
He had like an afro.
Yeah. And the glasses and he had like songs. And so he would be like calling Tom Hanks out and started just like throwing Oprah out. Well, John McAfee, who owns the McAfee software or antivirus software, he had his own drone and he had it over Epstein's Island. So he has all this footage of apparently King Charles on Epstein's Island because John McAfee had plenty of money. He sold all of his laptops and computers to the government. So he had them. And he had all the anti-software. He goes, fine, if y'all are going to force me to do certain things, I'm going to listen in and get. So he has all this stuff. Well, he released a lot of it, right? A lot of it was on Telegram at the time. And then he supposedly died, right? So a lot of the stuff's been taken off. So Mel Gibson now is coming out and he's starting to post some of the same things that he saved from when John McAfee released it. And I'm kicking myself like, why? I deleted all of these posts because my phone says I need a new source or whatever. So Mel Gibson basically has been releasing the P. Diddy party list and the Epstein list, which is why I got disappointed about the Andy Cohen. He's also talked about how, Hollywood is satanic, how they have these rituals, adrenochrome, all that kind of stuff. So Mel Gibson also talking about vampires. Mel Gibson also, I didn't expect this at all, but he looks just like it. So Christopher Walken, he puts off such vampire vibes, really. I never thought about it until Mel Gibson. I go, oh my God, he does. So Mel Gibson is in an interview from like way back when, in an interview saying how he was going to be at a party with, or he was at a party with Christopher or Chris, whatever you want to call him. And he was literally floating sideways. And Mel said he literally witnessed him doing this. And he was like, and he really could. I mean, if I was ever think of a vampire, that would be somebody I would think is a vampire. He said he was also like a graceful dancer. And I always think of vampires as graceful dancers, you know? I mean, I could see Patricia being like a floater, like dancing
They
floating.
say that like vampires are very magnetic and charismatic, but like also have this feeling of like kind of off.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're too smooth, the charismatic,
Yes.
and you're like, it's a little creepy.
But it's like you're like tranced to them, you know?
Right.
Like you just can't stop staring at them.
Now that I think about Christopher Walken, like that's all I can see. But all roads lead to vampires. We have no idea how much we were going to be talking to vampires because then you were like telling me about Roseanne, who.
Oh my God. So Roseanne Barr, I love that woman. So
Wild.
she was, yeah, I do too. So she was on Tucker Carlson, who, I mean, he was on Fox News. He had his own show. So, I mean, now he's got his own podcast. So a lot of the stuff he has is legitimate and everybody brings facts. So he and Roseanne were starting to talk, and Roseanne is on video on this podcast talking about how all the celebs are satanic vampires. They drink blood, they eat human meat, and like it's a thing. Like it's all very common. They all do it. If you want to be like the A-lister or part of the club, let's say, you have to participate in these rituals. And she was calling them out. And Tucker is looking at her like she's crazy. And you know her, she's like, Tucker, quit looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. And Tucker goes, well, you would know. You've been around them your whole life. And basically they banned her from her own show. Which tells you right there, she's telling the truth. I mean, she has to be.
I cannot remember her name, but the girl from Orange is the New Black that plays like the girl, she talks about in a podcast. She talks about the gold juice, like being offered the gold juice.
Yes,
and that is like what these people take. And then you see them come out the next season, and they like look like themselves, but an AI like 10 out of 10 version of themselves, and you're like, how did they transform like that?
Crazy.
And then they go on to have these careers where you're like, they look nothing like they did when they started. There's only so much like smoke and mirrors that you could do. They like literally transform into like, they go from being like a 5 to like being a 10.
Yeah.
It's like the 10 version of themselves. And you're like, this isn't Miss Congeniality where they're like in the back with the lab. They're like, they took something. They took something.
They took something.
Which can like lead us into our next big topic for the night, which is like we could talk about, we're not talking about Britney Spears, but it leads into our next topic. And
oh gosh. Yeah.
this, I've never really thought about the parallels, but like we're gonna have to do a whole episode on Britney Spears and like what went wrong with her, and is it mind manipulation? Is she a clone? Like what is wrong with her? Is she just like, did they take her brain? You don't know, but then like it kind of ties into Cornelia Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Which we have both done a lot of research, and it's like not a lot. There's not a lot out there on Cornelia Vanderbilt. It's very mysterious, and like so much that I know it's mysterious. When I read about this conspiracy that she like, well, it's not a conspiracy, it's fact that she abandoned her family, her 2 children and her husband, went to Europe, reappeared a few years later under a different name. And this was after she was to inherit the estate. So she was set to inherit the estate, and then she just disappeared. And then the house's official story was she just didn't want to undertake the big undertaking of the estate, that was too much for her, so she had to disappear. But it's like they hit it so much. My mom, who is the biggest Biltmore fan, had no idea. I was like, yeah, Mom, do you know Cornelia abandoned her children and her husband and then came back under a different identity as an artist and then never came home. Why would the person inheriting the America's largest estate give that all up just like that and abandon her family?
Like leave your 2 kids and go to Europe? That's unless she was forced out. Or, I mean, this is where we have so many questions with her. Was she forced out? Was she switched out? Like, did they clone her and then switch her out? And then that's when she went off to Europe?
Yeah.
You know, did they kick her out? Did she know too much? You know, I mean, keep going. You just keep asking.
the more I think about it, the more I think that it's like when she came to, with all of these blood oaths and contracts and the bloodlines, you have to keep it in the family because you have to keep it close knit. You can't like be outside. But then, like, some of this is like these people have no idea that this is how their family established this wealth. And so I think it was like a coming of age story. She was going to find out the secrets, the rituals, the sacrifices that had to be made to keep the bloodline going and keep it. And she was George's only child. So really she was the only way to keep it going.
Yep.
Right. So, and when she said no, I think that they said, okay, we're going to take your mind away and send you away.
I definitely
She couldn't, she knew too much.
Yeah.
So she knew too much and she wanted to walk away. So that was the only way that they could.
That's what I wonder if they killed her off and then like made a clone of her.
But then why would somebody pop up years later and not say they were her?
I think, well, when you're a clone, you don't know you're a clone.
Right.
I
I
mean,
mean, but they don't know who she is. But so I was thinking more of they just erased her mind. So she didn't know she had a.
Oh, they didn't show up.
She didn't know the.
I didn't even think about that one. Because that's a really good point. Because I was thinking, you know, all these like bloodline families, they're all satanic, you know, reptilian, and they have their children participate in these rituals with them. You know,
they have to.
They have to. I've watched a couple of interviews where a guy in one interview and a girl in a different interview, completely different families, where their family was satanic. And they would have, for example, this guy was saying how this kid, let's say Joey, came over and mom's like, oh, hey, son, you know, this is Joey. He's going to have dinner with us tonight. And then you go and have dinner with his kid. And then afterwards, they go and have a ritual and they make this kid kill the Joey. Like you just meet this kid and then all of a sudden you have to kill them and drink their blood and it's like a thing. It's sick. And so it makes me think like they totally probably made her do all this stuff. And you're right. Like she definitely, who the hell want to stay in it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, did she have to sacrifice her kids? But they're still alive because one of them still runs the Biltmore, right? Could she have broke the cycle and said, I'll completely leave and step away because I no longer want to participate in my family's traditions because, you know, there is a journal or a diary that she wrote where she said that she did not want to participate in the family traditions that her family had participated in. And that tells you right there, well, I mean, I don't do all the traditions that my family do, but let's talk about Christmas or let's talk about Thanksgiving. Like, I mean, I don't think they're talking about that kind of stuff.
I mean, but you have these bloodlines. And so some say, you hear a lot of people talking about vampires, which is associated with power and with fame and like blood rituals to stay younger, be the most famous, get the most notoriety, influence the most like people in like a fame and power kind of way.
Yep.
And then you have the reptilians, which is funny because for my 35th birthday, I had a conspiracy theory birthday party and Heather dressed up as a reptilian queen.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was doing some research on like what's the difference between a reptilian and a vampire. And obviously vampires.
I have this myself.
Vampires are power, energy, anti-aging, staying youthful and having the most eyes on them. Whereas reptilians is like a sacred bloodline used for influence and power on like thinking global news. So like politicians, royal families, like people that have influence like that. So it's like reptilians equals political and financial control, think global dominance. And then vampires is cultural and spiritual control, think immortality and fame. Like both rely on blood. One is about power through lineage and the other is power through consumption. So I have always been interested in your take on the reptilians.
You know, when I started learning about this, I read that like they would marry their nieces, and I thought that was so gross, right? I focused on that. I didn't put two and two together at first that like these people could actually be half alien and half reptilian, which is a whole nother thing. So there's different aliens, good and bad, and the reptilians are good and bad as well. But the reptilians that are controlling us have literally been in these supposedly 13 bloodlines through all these years. And that's why they married their own families to keep this bloodline because they're half alien, they're half human. And so the only way to keep that, you know, they have special gifts. They can shapeshift. they've had their same money through how many centuries, we have no idea. I mean, reality, like how much or how long they've really been around. I'm sure somebody's researched it, but and that's how they're, like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, like that's how they have so much money. Plus, they do things and then own all the company. Like they own all of our plastic. They own all of our water. They own so many BlackRock. I mean, they own everything. They own all your television stations. They own Federal Reserve. I mean, you know, throughout time they have had so many different companies and that's the power and that's part of like keeping the bloodline in the family. But like I just kept going down rabbit hole. So you're thinking like, okay, so King Charles and the Queen apparently are reptilians. So that's why I dressed up as the Queen for her birthday. I got to thinking about it. So I thought about Diane, right? Princess Diana. She did not seem like a reptilian at all. And the people loved her. You know, they all love the queen because I think she's just like the queen. Like it's just the thought of who she is, right? But I think they really loved Diane for like her soul, like who she was, how kind she was. And I think she saw it and wanted to get out of it. And I also, in my personal opinion, think that Kate Middleton is trying to get out of it. And that's why, like, oh, she's got cancer. We haven't seen her in a while. Oh, well, now we're hearing her family doesn't really know where she was. I mean, this was, through the past, year or two that she's been going, maybe more. I don't really keep up with the royal family that much anymore because of all this, because I know it's just nothing but a TV royalty show. I mean, that's all it is. And then you go down further on the rabbit hole and you find out that there's videos of this little boy trying to escape the palace. There's literally like, and he's naked.
Oh my gosh, I've never seen that.
Yeah. And he's got like bed sheets tied down, like literally trying to escape.
We're gonna have to look that. I'm gonna have to find that video.
So then you find out that they have these hunting parties. Have you heard about these?
Yeah, I think they do
like
at Biltmore. I think they do it.
That's right.
125,000 acres. What a great place to like hunt some humans.
Yeah. So I mean, these people scare the shit out of me.
I will say, listen, I worked in the yachting industry for a year. I worked with some very wealthy, depraved individuals. The more money you get, the more bored you get with things that you can easily acquire. And so then you have to go into the black market of acquiring things like exotic animals. And then when that gets boring, then you got to go into the black market that is like, what is the most taboo thing that you could possibly do is like hunting humans.
Yeah. It's pretty fucked.
And then if you go to the adrenochrome and like they're trying to be useful, if they're hunting them when they're in fear, then they can take their blood. And like I don't know if adrenochrome is real, but the more that I read about things, the more that I'm pretty sure that blood sacrifice is definitely what I'm saying. It's definitely a thing.
We laugh about it because we're just like, what on earth? It's so hard to even fathom that people would. I get a cut and I don't even want to like try to. If I don't have a napkin or something, like I don't even want to put the blood in my mouth. It's gross to me. Like I can't imagine.
I know, and I feel like we sound like absolute nut cases talking about this.
That's not what I'm saying.
But like the evidence leads you there when you start putting the dots together. You're like, truth is stranger than fiction. And I've seen some weird things in person. So I 100% know that rich people, very rich people, like the 1%ers, are the most depraved humans you could probably think of. So did you have any last thoughts on that?
Well, there was one thing. So going down this rabbit hole, there's actual footage online of soccer players, politicians, even I want to say the royal family, where it's like on TV, somehow their face is becoming disorganized or it's almost like a mask is dissolving. But I've also seen where like a snake like tongue pops out and like people are pausing it and rewinding it back. I mean, it looks just like it doesn't look like a tongue like you and I have.
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes pretty far out and it's pretty thin. So I'm questioning like what the hell? It has to be half something, right? It can't just be human. But that's as far as I was willing to go for this episode of my podcast. But it is interesting how, like, I feel like the celebrities are more the vampires and the royals are more the, like what you're saying, are more the reptilians.
The global elite versus the fame and fame.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy. And, we're going to tie this you have these evil groups controlling the world, and then you have people like you and I who are trying desperately to like grasp at taking control of our own lives and our own health, which is going to be like next in our next episode that we're going to film. We're going to talk about looking at everything that big pharma is doing, big ag is doing to us. And then I've learned like the most disturbing things about the rehabilitation system, which is near and dear to my heart, and about the fraud that is going on in that area of the world. That's what we're gonna that's what we're going to talk about next week.
I'm excited because I mean, both of us have completely different stories about COVID, and both of us have completely different stories about our own health issues.
Yes.
And how we overcame them. And so it's very near and dear to our heart. And so hopefully you can get to know us a little bit better, especially for the next episode. We'll kind of put a pause on the bloodlines and the vampires for a little while.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about more of our personal experiences and kind of why we're here.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in today, and bless your heart. Go out there and spill the secrets, look in the shadows, and question everything.
See you next time.
See you next time.